recording here. Okay, so I'm talking about the equinox and what that means for us emotionally and just in our day-to-day lives. It's a time of, you know, the beginning of the light, the diminishment of light, so that we can all kind of hibernate and collect ourselves and then be reborn in the spring, right? So it's when the exact moment of the fall equinox for us in North America, it's obviously the spring equinox in the lower hemisphere. But for us, it's at 8:30 Central on September 22nd, which is Tuesday. And it'll be, let's see, that's 6:30 a.m. on the Pacific side and 9:30 a.m. on the east side on Tuesday. So yeah, the day and the night are equal. And if you know, the symbol of Libra is the symbol of the scales being equal, balancing out. The Libra vibe is really calming. It's a judicious kind of energy. The focus is often negotiating partnerships, finding that balance in our lives somewhere. And, you know, because this is a cardinal sign, change is going to be a very big theme. And that's especially true this week because of some of these aspects that I'm going to talk a little bit more about. And what else do I want to say? Yeah, this is the high holidays for the Jewish people. It's that moment of, I think, you know, really kind of reflection, you know, and that's true of this season. It's somewhat of a nostalgic season. The leaves begin to turn and we're sort of reflecting on the year. We're reflecting on other times that we've experienced this transition from, you know, the very outward, expansive energy of summer and into the more interior moment of the fall and the winter. What else do I want to say about that? Well, I do want to mention to you all that I was reading a book called The Overstory, and if any of you are interested, I would take a look. It won the Pulitzer Prize a couple years ago. I just finished it last night, and it talks about how the planet itself is alive. It's like these interwoven 4 or 5 characters and their stories, but it speaks through the trees. The trees are a character in this book. And I felt like it was really apropos for this moment that we're in, this transition from the heat of the summer, from the intensity of this year, where now we're moving into darkness. And that can have a real scary connotation, but it can also be this moment of transition and transformation as well. One of the things about this week that I like is it creates a lot of, there's a crisis point, right, in the middle of this week, not only with the transition of the equinox, but with the opposition of Mercury and Mars squaring with Saturn creates this moment of conflict, but also this moment of opportunity. So this moment where we are forced into a decision. And as Libra season teaches us, you want to consider all sides before you act. But there's definitely that kind of that push, that itch for us to take some action this week. Mercury in, let me pull up the chart here. I just want to reference this. So yeah, Mercury being in Libra, Mercury is our intellect. It's the way that we process information. It's the way that we, our perspective on our lives and on the world. And it's entering the degrees that it will then retrograde at in October. So what we're entering what's called the Mercury shadow. And that means that the planet Mercury is moving into the same area of the sky that it will retrace during its retrograde time. So again, reflection. And I think another way of thinking of this is deliberation, you know, so really kind of surveying our choices and considering what's the most judicious, what's the most balanced, what's the most You know, the word safety comes to mind because that alignment we have in the sky between Mercury, Mars, and Saturn is actually pointing to our place of foundation. It's pointing to our area of security. And one of the things that interested me about this, let me just pull up my notes. I actually made notes today. So I may seem like I'm just on the fly doing this, but I actually did a little bit of research. Yeah, so this alignment of Mercury, Mars, opposite, and I'll show you on the charts, but it is in a square. Both of these planets are in a square or a 90-degree angle to Saturn and Capricorn. And for those of you, most of you, I can see who you are, know that I've been talking about the Capricorn stellium all year because that is the big overarching story of 2020. So we're really being forced to, you know, consider the tests and the areas of change, the areas of conflict, the areas of that are obstacles for us. We're being forced to consider those. We're being pushed to a crisis point with some of those decisions. And during this Libra season, we are going to make them. We are going to take action. But what I did want to say, and I wish you could see this, I'm set up in my dining room now. I have changed my setup because my friend Edie recommended that I expand my reach in my actual house because I was in a tiny office and now I've just taken over the dining room. So my family is tiptoeing around me because this is my special time and I have to have perfect silence. Okay, but what I was going to say was that T-square, there's an empty part of the alignment. And in a T-square aspect in astrology, the solution to the conflict, the solution to the crisis is that filling that empty blank. And the empty blank is Cancer. The empty blank is creating sustainable, and I know I've said this over and over again, sustainable systems in your life, but things that feel secure. Your foundation, your home, your family, taking an inventory of those things and making changes that create a more secure environment for you at home. Okay, so let me just, yeah. So your own personal life becomes the focus. We have been, there have been so many plates spinning for so many of us in this year, trying to make sense of the chaos in the outside while feeling completely, you know, in captivity in our homes. But now it's an opportunity to create a sense of safety, to nest, you know, that instinct to hibernate. It's a real thing. And that's especially emphasized this week, that instinct to make your home feel comfortable, safe, secure. Now we could see this on the outside as well. And then I'm going to start with I'm checking the time and I need to get going on the horoscopes, but we could see in the outer world, like in the headlines, we could start to see some focus on safety, security, homeland security could become more of an issue this week. I don't know exactly what that looks like. To be honest, I have been on somewhat of a Trump cleanse for the last week or 10 days because I felt like I couldn't fully engage with my people, my clients, my family without feeling stressed. So I am really, and I would recommend that all of you do that if you haven't already. It's a good time to, you're not going to miss anything that you can actually do things about. If you have not already, register to vote and request those mail-in ballots, but otherwise I would keep I would keep a lot of the news at arm's length. So, and I'm feeling moved to just share this book with you. So I mentioned one book already, The Overstory, which I finished last night. It's 520 pages. It won the Pulitzer 2 years ago if you need some sort of cred to read it, but it's a novel and it speaks sort of from the perspective of the trees, and it interweaves these stories of actual characters, actual people, I mean, that are interacting in a spiritual way with the trees. But it's a beautiful book. If you need something to focus on get that book. Here's another book I want to recommend, and I know it's going to be opposite there, but it's called Deep and Simple. My dad gave me this book. It's a really, apparently this guy, Bo Lazoff, was one of Mr. Rogers' like guru, mentor, or something like that. And it's a really beautiful book to just have within arm's reach on your desk, to just like flip to a page. It has really common sense spirituality. Okay. All right, let's start on the horoscopes. So if you are joining me for the first time, I got to do my little spiel, right? If you're joining for the first time, I do this every Sunday. I do horoscopes for every sign. I suggest you listen for your sun and your rising sign. And if you miss yours while I'm going through this, because they only give 3 minutes to each sign, if you miss it, I post this on YouTube afterwards. You can go straight to your sign, skip over all of my spiel with clickable timestamps. And I'm going to take a little Ricola because my voice starts to go when I start to do this. And you'll be happy to know that I actually planned ahead and I got all the charts. And so I won't have that bullshit problem I had last week. Okay. So let me pull up Aries and Aries rising. Okay. So what I'm going to be talking about this week is Mercury, Mars, okay, and Saturn mainly, the equinox and the first quarter moon. These are the things that are really going to be activating our decision-making process. It's going to be calling for action. This is a call to action that we're going to get. And I think a lot of you will know what that action is. It's not going to be, I don't see Uranus really involved here. So it's not like a big surprise. This is stuff that we've been dealing with all year, but you have to make some decisions around. Okay, Aries, Aries rising. Mars is retrograde. Mercury has entered its shadow. I just realized something. I got to put these on because I'm recording. Actually, let me see. Let me see if I can do this. Yeah, I'm just going to do this. So sorry about this, but as I'm recording this for YouTube, I want to make sure that the folks who listen to that later can hear me. Mars retrograde in the first house, Aries, is the big headline for you because that's slowing down your processes, but it's also giving you an opportunity to kind of look at your processes and kind of give you a perspective on, okay, where am I most effective and where do I need to modify my action? Where do I need to modify my view of self? Some of the Aries risings that I'm working with in my program, Align and Thrive, are actually doing quite a bit. It's not like you're not getting shit done, but you're doing it in a more thoughtful, less impulsive way. You're doing it in a more slow and steady way. Now, one of the things coming up with this equinox for Aries and Aries rising is Mercury and Mars square off with Saturn. Something in your professional life, Aries, something that's going on about your reputation and maybe changes that you're trying to make with your reputation require you to take some action. And maybe this is about negotiating with a partner. Because Mercury is slowing down in that partnership sector where it will retrograde later on, you may find that things, negotiations, decisions that you need to make, conversations that you need to have with a partner reach some sort of crisis point on Wednesday, and you are forced to take action, and that action will somehow impact the foundation of your business or your professional life. It will somehow help you, the good news is it will help you reframe a problem. It helps you reframe Mercury and Mars squaring Saturn. I like to think of it as clarifying in some way. Sometimes when we slow things down, we're able to really see the picture. Thank you for Stephanie for saying that. We're able to really see things a little more clearly because it's not just whizzing by us. And Aries tends to move a little faster than they need to. So Aries, Aries rising, I'd say use this to your advantage. Take your time making this. It's an important decision. It's an important decision with Saturn in the 10th house around your career and your reputation. So it's a good idea to take your time and make a decision that feels solid, like Saturn, that feels sustainable. So if you're setting up a business, if you're setting up some sort of new partnership, you need to check all of the things. to make sure it's sustainable. That way Saturn will have your back. Okay, what else do I want to say? Yeah, so again, first quarter moon, for those of you who follow the moon cycles, we've finished that Virgo moon period. And now we're going to start to work on that thing, that seed that we planted around this new moon. Now it's going to start to germinate, which means we've got to start to take action. We've got to sort of line things up so that we are ready to move forward in some important way. That this first quarter moon is very action oriented. So I could see all of us, not just Aries, all of us being more busy this weekend, fulfilling some promise we made around that new moon. What else do I want to say about Aries rising? You know, that's really the big news. Everything else are sort of like more mild. We still have Venus in the 5th house, Aries. There's a ton of creative energy for you to harness if you are there for that. And Venus is, let's see, it's in a wide square to Uranus. I wouldn't say that. There's adjustments that need to be made. Again, Venus is in a what's called a twin conjunct aspect this week with Jupiter. Again, a lot of what you're doing, Aries, is figuring out your professional routines, your plans, your goals. You're letting go of things professionally that don't work anymore. You're really working. The new moon was, Julie, was on the 17th, so last Thursday. But Aries, you're really harnessing this creative vibe of Venus in the 5th to adjust your reputation, maybe your branding, adjust your goals with your business, things like that. So I feel like it's positive, it's action oriented. Let's take the crisis out of this square and use it as opportunity. Okay, I'm going to move on to Taurus and Taurus rising. I'm probably a little bit slower than normal, but I'm going to get there. Okay, Taurus and Taurus rising. Now we're looking at Mercury, Mars in the 6th and the 12th house. It is squaring off with Saturn in the 9th house. These are interesting houses because 9 and 12 are really things that are behind the scenes, these efforts that you've been working on that are about to launch next year, but aren't quite there yet. And so Taurus, this is really more of a, how do I want to say it? A shift of perspective, a shift of your belief system, looking at, okay, what is it that I really want to do with my day-to-day that is in line with my beliefs, that is in line with this new perspective, this new belief system that I have, that's actually more authentic to who I am, but is actually causing somewhat of a crisis of faith, crisis in the decision-making process, because it's not, my day-to-day routine doesn't fully align with that quite yet. And so what changes do I need to make? What decisions do I need to make to be in more alignment with my spiritual self? That's all that Capricorn, Taurus, and Taurus rising is in the 9th house of spirituality, of your belief systems, of your faith in the world, in yourself, in your abilities to, and I'm thinking of that phrase, right action, that Buddhist concept of taking right action, being in your integrity. And so Taurus and Taurus rising, I would recommend you consider my program. And here's a little sales pitch for you, the Align and Thrive that I'm doing. We're just about full for October. I might be able to squeeze one more person in, but I'll be doing this the rest of the year. And if you're like Taurus and you are grappling with a sort of crisis of faith, which is what this feels like to me for Taurus, maybe even applying, Taurus maybe even applying to some sort of educational, some sort of expanding their education or doing some sort of certification process, something that's quite important and is in line with integrity for Taurus and Taurus rising. You may be a good candidate for my Align and Thrive program, because we can work on that and we can help unpack some of the uncertainties about, do I deserve this? Is this something that, am I really the person for this program? Am I really, is this, you know, it's almost like a dream that you have, Taurus, a dream that you have that you're not quite sure you are in deserving, you know, deserving. Yeah, I think that might be it. However, Taurus, I do want to talk about Venus in the 4th house. It is, let's see, it's going to be making a trine aspect tomorrow. So you know, by the end of the week, Taurus, I think you should be feeling much better than you do in the beginning, in the middle, beginning and middle. There's this need to express some core part of yourself that really gets unlocked towards the end of the week. What do I want to say about that? And, you know, the thing is, we're in between lunations, and by the time we get to next week, yeah, like the 1st of October, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I keep wanting to like explain all the things that are happening. We're going to really focus on just this week. So Taurus, here's what I think you should do. I think there needs to be a little bit more surrender and a little bit less pushing against a brick wall, banging your head against a brick wall. Taurus rising, I'm very familiar with. I have several of these folks in my family, and they are unrelenting when they get focused. This is not a situation that is going to benefit from unrelenting, banging your head against the wall. This is a situation that is going to benefit from a little bit of surrender, a little bit of hearing out the other side, and tenacity, which you have. Okay. What else do I want to say about that? I think that's good. I think I've gone on too long. I feel like I'm just rambling today, which I guess I kind of always feel like that. All right, let's move on to Gemini and Gemini rising. If this is the first time you're joining, which I don't think it is, but if it is, I am going to post this to YouTube later and have clickable timestamps so you do not have to listen to every single horoscope. You can go straight to yours. And I recommend that you listen to your sun and your rising sign. Okay, Gemini and Gemini rising. We're looking at Mercury. Mercury is very important. Thank you, Lisa. Mercury is in the 5th house. It is in that house of creativity, self-expression, and it is squaring off with your tribe, with your friendships, with your colleagues, and it is squaring off with some sort of financial issue where you share money. So I wonder, Gemini rising, if there is some disagreement, or if you are confronted, and let me look at my notes here. I wanted to make sure I'm saying this correctly. I did make notes today. I'm not doing everything on the fly like I normally, trying to be professional. Okay, so your personal needs to express yourself, right, creatively, authentically, may be in conflict with your friends or your other folks in your business. And there may be a need for you, the two of you, to have a third party weigh in to help balance this out. Now, the other thing that this could have to do with is a financial problem, some sort of arrangement that you have. Maybe it's a contract that you've signed with someone that is involved in your creative endeavor. Now, this could also relate to a romantic relationship because Mercury is in that 5th house. So this could be a romantic situation that is now at a standoff, and, you know, maybe there's some money at stake. And again, I'm going to say you want to go towards your Cancer, wherever Cancer is in your chart. This is true for everyone. When we face a blockage or problem this week, we want to go to Cancer, wherever that is in our chart. That's where the solution is going to be. And for Gemini and Gemini rising, it's in the area of personal values. It's in the area of self-confidence, and it's in the area of what we earn financially on our own merit, on our own, what's that phrase? On our own. It's our own earned income. So we want to move towards what do we truly value? And then things become much clearer. What is the most financially secure decision that you could make for you and your own Gemini and Gemini rising? That's the one you want to make when faced with the conflict in this midweek. If you try to force the hand of your friend, your business colleague, it's just going to be much harder. It's really, I just need to make the decision that is right for my family and for that I can make within my integrity. And then things will, that T square that's happening will ease up. What else do I want to say about that? Hi, Peter. So just at Gemini and Gemini rising, if you have missed your sign, you can go to the YouTube later and click the timestamp to go straight to your horoscope. So Mercury, I do want to say one more thing, Gemini, about Mercury, because it's moving into its shadow phase. The things that come up this week, you are going to spend the next couple of months dealing with. I'm sorry to say that, but because of where Mercury happens to be, there are some problems coming up now that you will be working on until, is it mid-November? I can't believe that's as long as it is. Well, I want to say, yeah, the first week of November, definitely, maybe even into November, mid-November. That's because Mercury is tracing the period of, it's tracing the degrees that it will then retrograde and then move back over. So it will hit this point 2 more times. Oh, wait, 1 more time. Yeah, in November. So anyway, this isn't the end of the story, is basically what I'm saying. Whatever comes up this week, we are all going to be dealing with through the next couple of months. I am now going to move on to Cancer and Cancer rising. And this is an important one for Cancer that has to do with relationships. Because this Mars is in the top of your chart. So anything that you're dealing with, problems that you're managing professionally, issues at home, you know, trying to find that home and family balance, trying to figure out how to work with a spouse, to work with your children or your family, and also get a lot done professionally. This is that crux. This is the real problem for you this week, Cancer. And the point that you want to go to is, what do I need in this situation? What are my personal needs and my, you know, where do I fit into the needs of all these other people? And this is often a problem with Cancer. They are the last person to focus on themselves. Often they are very other focused because they are such natural nurturers. This is a time, Cancer, that you really want to take a little bit more care to look at, you know, how am I taking care of my physical body? How am I making space for, you know, the things that give me vitality, the things that help me feel strong and stabilized. Because the Saturn is in that house of partnership and all that Capricorn, you know, a marriage, a business partnership, the way that you deal with relationship in general has been the heavy problem of this year. Maybe it's a contractual relationship, other than maybe it's a financially motivated contractual relationship. With Mercury and Mars opposite each other in the 10th and 4th house, you know, you really want some security at home. You really want to feel grounded, and your focus with Libra season tends to be more about feathering the nest. But there are demands or problems going on professionally with your reputation, or maybe even with a boss, that are frustrating, extremely frustrating. I think the key here is going to be taking care of your physical body so that you don't get overstressed during this week of change, of conflict, and I say crisis, but I don't want to scare anybody. Crisis is also a turning point. So I could see that happening with you, Cancer. A turning point where your relationship to work, home, family, and you, there has to be some kind of give so that you have more sustainable routines in your life that help you get through these next challenging it's going to be a challenging period just because we're dealing with a lot of change and a lot of crisis in the world, and that inevitably filters down to our home and family and what's going on there. There was something I wanted to say around that. All right, I'm going to move on to Leo. It'll come to me. I'm going to move on to Leo and Leo rising. And what I wanted to say was, I'm just noticing from some feedback that I've gotten online that some of the astrology I've been talking about is causing anxiety for some of you. And I just want to say, you know, there's no need to go into fear, because if you distill every moment down to its essence, if you go into that Buddha mind of, I'm just going to manage what is in front of me, and even if that means I am just going to breathe in and out, then the really intense fear and anxiety and feeling that you need to do something but you can't do anything, that sort of dissipates, because now all you're doing is focusing on what you can control, which, if you bring it down to its absolute narrowest, tiniest point, is breathing in and out. And you know what, that's one of the reasons why I recommend this book. And I mentioned this earlier, if you're just joining, this book is, I think, written by this guy, Bo Lazoff, is long passed away, but he was one of Mr. Rogers' mentors. My dad gave me this book, and it's very simple. It's a very easy read. It's something that can bring you back to the moment, bring you back to what is important. And I think that's a big theme of this week as well. What is really important to you that helps you feel grounded and secure? That is where you want to go, as long as it's someplace healthy. We don't want to go into, well, you know, half a bottle of wine makes me feel grounded and secure. Does it? Does it really? Or does it just make you feel numb and hungover? So we really want to be in our integrity, work with that Saturn and Capricorn, and be honest with ourselves. Be honest with ourselves. So the book is called Deep and Simple. It's written in a very plain spoken way. It's just, and it says a spiritual path for modern times. It's just like common sense. So Julie, I sort of go in and out on these things. I'm on Leo. I haven't started yet. And I'm kind of drifting in and out because a lot of this astrology is applicable to everyone. But now I will move on to Leo and Leo rising. And here we go. Okay, Leo rising. This is, you have Venus in the first house for the next little while. So that is helpful. That gives you a little bit of access to the nice, finer things in life. You may be enjoying that. I would say really lean into the sweetness if you can. One of the interesting things is that Venus this week in your first house, Leo, is in a weird angle to Neptune in the 8th house. So I would be careful about overindulging in, you know, too much self-indulgence can lead to issues financially if you're not careful. So just make sure that you're not doing too many impulse buys, that you're not falling into this habit of, you know, just buying things just because Venus tells you to, and then you wake up the next morning and you look at your bank balance and you're like, what? Mars and Mercury for you, Leo and Leo rising, is in that house, the 3rd and 9th house. This is about what stories are you telling yourself? Oh, I like this. What stories are you telling yourself about your work, about your health, about your routines that are not sustainable? What stories are actually making things harder? What belief systems do you have that are in conflict with your integrity, that are in conflict with the concept of oneness, that are in conflict with the sense of your own divine self? And this is kind of heady stuff, but that's because the missing link for Leo and Leo rising is surrender. The missing link this week is letting go of the control, of somehow letting things sort themselves out rather than trying to go in and fix. This is Leo rising. This is all that Capricorn in the 6th house, making you want to control every second of the day. I mean, you've probably gotten really good, Leo, at sustaining your routines at this point and creating a system in your life day to day that's working. And it's been a hard road to get there, but you're there now. How about moving to the higher mind? How about allowing God, Goddess, all that is, giving room for that energy to meet you halfway? That's what I would say. Leo is a fixed sign, and it tends to, like fixed signs, like to have things a certain way. They're very directed people. Leo rising especially has all that fire in the 1st house. Surrender doesn't come naturally, but I think this week, Leo, you have an opportunity to make a choice, to make a decision, to take some action that allows you more space to breathe, that allows you more space to let God, Goddess, all that is, into your day-to-day life. Allow that surrender to come in. And you know what? This is true for all of us in this time, because there's just so much tension. And as I mentioned earlier, I took a real break this week. I mean, actually the last 10 days probably, from my usual news media addiction. And it was really nice. I really didn't miss much. I could just check the headlines every few days and just see that the world was still spinning. But you know what? I like the idea as we move through the fall. And that's why I think I like this book, Deep and Simple. That's why I like the book I just finished, The Over Story. Just get back to what really matters. That's what the Capricorn this year is telling us. It's about breathing in and out. It's about gazing into the eyes of the people that you love. You know, we can't do a whole lot about some of the things going on in the world. We kind of have to sit through the next few months with grace. We want to send out our love and that frequency of loving kindness. We want to vote. We want to take care of ourselves so we can take care of each other. I think, but beyond that, I think it's really about sitting through what's coming, just sitting through it and sustaining our peace of mind, sustaining our grace, sustaining a sense of clarity, integrity. Okay, not to say that we don't want to fight for what we believe in. All right, I'm going to talk more about that, but I'm going to move on to, thank you, Julie. I'm going to move on to Virgo and Virgo rising, which we just finished with this Virgo full moon. I'm sorry, Virgo new moon last week, which was a very nice stabilizing new moon. And speaking for myself, I cleaned out a lot of closets with that energy. For you, Virgo and Virgo rising, you know, we want to look at what Mercury is doing, and it is opposite Mars. It is activating this kind of, what do I value? What is important to me to sustain a sense of joy? What will help me creatively move through this difficult time? What sort of decisions do I need to make financially that will be sustainable? How can I make my finances more sustainable? And for you, Virgo, I would see pointing to the 11th house is what your answer is. The solution is in your friends, your networks. And maybe it's asking for help, which I don't think Virgo is very good at asking for help because Virgo is so capable. But I think that's what this alignment in this week is asking you to do. Consider asking a friend for help. Consider leaning on your tribe, leaning on your friendships, bringing in support from your tribe. Because I think if you try to figure this out yourself, Virgo, you just go into a little bit of a spiral, over analyzing, you know, always kind of ending in the same spot, over analyzing yourself into the same problem, into the same blockage, into the same creative block. And that's one of the big problems for Virgo, where all that Capricorn is in the area of self-expression, being heard, being seen, being able to speak your truth and be recognized and validated. And that feels frustrating this week, because maybe you need a person out there helping bring that message forward. Maybe you need, thank you, Lindsley. Maybe you need someone from your tribe to bring you into a community, bring you into a group setting where you feel like you belong. I think that part of this might be that you're trying too hard to do everything on your own, Virgo and Virgo rising. And so this week brings to your attention the need to make a decision, the need to take some action, that clearly working all on your own to solve this problem, whether it's financial, whether it's a confidence issue, is just going to lead to the same dead end. That's kind of what I see. What else do I want to say? And, you know, for you, Venus is in that 12th house for another 10 days or so. And that, you know, really is about surrender, isn't it? It's also about prayer. And prayer can be, it doesn't have to be the traditional get down on your knees kind of thing. Prayer can be something you do in your rituals, and Virgo is very good at rituals. So I almost wonder if this isn't a time for some sort of return to a ritual that brings you closer to your spiritual self, that brings you in alignment with a sense of surrender, a sense that you don't have to do it all alone. Okay. I'm a little bit behind this week. I'm going slower than normal, and that may be because of Mars retrograde. I don't know, but I'm going to move on to now Libra and Libra rising. All right, so Libra. Oh my gosh, Libra. So many key facets of your life are up for grabs right now. And you are entering, you know, this is your season. This is a time for you to celebrate yourself, to shine your light out, right? The sun is in the first house, to focus on your health and well-being, to invite others into the conversation, to invite other people, because Mercury's in that first house, to listen to you. You know, you probably have a lot to say right now. And honestly, this week could be a little frustrating, Libra. Mercury is in that first house for you. Mars is in the partnership house for you, and it's all squaring this Saturn in the fourth. So a heavy decision around where you live, a heavy decision around what your partner wants versus what you want, what your family wants versus what the two of you want. And the place that you need to go is going to be that 10th house of your capable self, your, you know, this may be a situation where you actually want to ask for advice, Libra. I know that Libra has a hard time making decisions, and the stakes are very high for Libra right now. So I almost wonder if you need to ask for some advice from someone you really respect, a teacher, I see you there, Stephanie, a teacher, an old colleague, an old boss, a former boss, someone who you very much respect needs to weigh in on some major decision that you're making about where you live or what you do with a home, or what is a problem with a family member, maybe a problem with a parent. But I do think that the missing link here for you, Libra, is seeking advice from an authority figure, then trusting that advice, and that's the key. It's not, Libra, it's not that you can't trust your own judgment here. It's that you need someone else to mirror your judgment. And that's true for all of us, is that sometimes we don't trust ourselves until we hear someone else speak out loud what we're thinking. I notice that a lot in working with my clients, that I feel like I just mirror what they know already, but I need to just, they need to see somebody else say it out loud. And that's the truth for you, Libra. Venus is in the 11th house, and it's making that weird alignment to Neptune in the 6th. So you may be having an issue with a female friend. You may be having an issue with, where do I belong day to day? Where do I need to be? Where is my tribe? Where is my community? And there's a lot of confusion around that. And again, I think that bringing in an authority figure, and I don't know what that looks like, but I'm sure you do. It could be a parent, could be an old boss, it could be a teacher. I think it's a teacher. Midweek, someone older than you probably, who's lived a little bit of life. Maybe who's gone through the same thing you're going through right now, who could give you a little clarity on that. Okay, I'm going to move on to Scorpio and Scorpio rising, one of my favorites. Scorpio, so Mars is retrograde Scorpio, which you probably know intuitively because you may not be feeling 100% yourself unless you have some retrograde planets natally, then you might feel a lot like yourself. Mars is retrograde in that 6th house, and it's opposite Mercury in the 12th. You may be feeling anxious and you don't know why. Maybe you're feeling, and that it's all squaring off with the stuff in the 3rd house, a lot of weighty decisions, a lot of weighty stuff on your mind. And it has been that way all year. And right now, midweek, you feel like you want to take some action, but you just don't know what to do. So the answer is going to be, I know you think I'm crazy, I'm going to say surrender again, but this is more about returning to a spiritual practice. Scorpio, Scorpio rising, you need to return to your spiritual practice to get you back down to earth and out of worry mind, monkey mind, into the physical body, into the moment. Now would be a good time, Scorpio and Scorpio rising, to take a workshop, to open your mind to some spiritual teachings that you haven't explored. Maybe revisit with a yoga teacher. You and Libra can go find a teacher together. Libra needs it for a different reason, but Scorpio needs to return to some sort of spiritual, they need to have their faith renewed. Yes, Ryan, we all do. We all need to have our faith renewed, and I do feel like that's coming. In the interim, we need to find some day-to-day, and this is true especially for Scorpio and that Mars sticking around the 6th house. You need to incorporate something day-to-day that will keep you in touch with the divine, Mercury in the 12th, and that empty 9th house right now. Find something that can bring you back in alignment with the divine. And actually, because you have that heavy 3rd house alignment, all that Capricorn, this is a good book for you, Scorpio and Scorpio rising, Deep and Simple. Because I think for you, Scorpio, that Capricorn in the 3rd, it has to have a practical application, whatever spirituality it is. It has to have some sort of day-to-day routine practicality, and that's kind of what this does. It's a very simple, plain-spoken, which kind of all aligns with that Capricorn in that 3rd house this year. Scorpio, you also need a little break. You need some time to just recuperate, to revisit your health and wellness routines, and to make sure they're all working for you. You know, maybe you have been working out. Scorpio really likes to be fit, but maybe whatever it is you're doing is really just wearing you out. It's not nourishing. And maybe you really need to spend a little bit more time cultivating a more forgiving practice. Scorpio tends to go into sort of punishing practices when that's one of their coping techniques, is to just sort of flagellate, you know, that whole Catholic thing. Okay, I'll move on to Sag and Sag rising. And I am going to get through this in an hour, but I'm not getting through it as soon as I normally do, which is okay. Okay, Sag and Sag rising. This one is interesting because it aligns up similarly, that Gemini being your opposite, Gemini being your mirror image in a way. You and Gemini are dealing with this T-square to Saturn in a similar way. Self-expression, creative endeavor, your tribe, where you belong, and how do you make money out of it? How do you make your creative endeavors work for you in a way that not only gives you a sense of belonging, but it also allows you the freedom to be who you really are. So this one for Sag is really about your values and making decisions, having some sort of crisis point around either creative endeavors. This could also have to do with a child if you're a parent, some sort of conflict between your child and your partner, maybe, or maybe your child and your tribe, your sense of belonging. This could also have to do with goal setting, you know, setting goals for your financial security. And the missing piece here, Sag, is moving into, you know, I want to say sharing, moving into a place where you don't hoard everything for yourself. Thank you, Ashley, for showing up. But moving into a place of depth and understanding and even compassion with a partner. I feel like there's some sort of conflict that's involving your partner because Mercury is involved here. Yeah, it's almost like your need to be you, Sag, is in direct conflict with what the partner wants and the partner's goals. And then that problem is causing a blockage in you achieving your goals and what you want to achieve. And so something has got to give, right? Something has got to give, and it really has to do with cooperation, bringing the two pieces together in a shared sense of purpose. You know, it's not just you and what you need, Sag. It's also about what's good for you and your partner together. And that's going to mean sharing, you know, the 8th house. Okay. What I'm trying to get to is the 8th house for you is the missing link, Sag. You have to get to a place where you can share your resources, share yourself, share your vulnerability. It's a commitment. It's a stick-to-itiveness. It's a decision that definitely has gravitas and meaning, and you really need to bring in that partner to make the decision with the most integrity. I don't know if this makes any sense for Sag. I'm just kind of deciphering the symbols, and that's what it's telling me. I'm going to move on because I'm kind of getting to the bottom of the barrel here, and I want to get to everybody. Aquarius, Capricorn, almost forgot Capricorn again. Sorry. Capricorn and Capricorn rising. All right, so this is professional, this is family, and this is you making a decision, again, about home and family, similar to Cancer, because your chart is just the flip side of Cancer rising. So you are also dealing with a decision. However, this one is really about how am I asserting myself? How am I getting my needs met? And how can I, missing piece for you, Capricorn, is your partner. So it's interesting how some of this is lining up with Mercury, with Sag's chart, but your missing piece is that 7th house in Cancer. You really want to trust. And I think that's not 100% easy for the earth signs. The earth signs tend to be, they like to be, everything needs to be, you know, the way it is. It has to be grounded and earthy and still and set in stone. But this is a moment where you're going to have to trust your partner. You're going to have to trust that they are in it for the long haul, that they are committed, and that they are in their integrity. Otherwise, you're just going to be in an at odds situation, and it's going to just be, you know, us versus them scenario. This also has to do, Capricorn, with your sense of accomplishment and whether the problems at home are getting in the way of a sense of accomplishment. And in that case, I would say lean on a partner. Ask your partner for support. Ask your partner for help. Bring them into the solution, because they will help you. Okay, I got to move on. I'm sorry, Capricorn, you get a little bit of the short stick today because I can't get to everybody in this hour that is allotted me on the lives. Aquarius and Aquarius rising. Oh my God, I only have 2 minutes left. Aquarius and Aquarius rising. Okay, I'll just have to do this on a second live. I'll do Pisces on the second live. You are dealing with that faith and decision-making around a spiritual problem. Maybe it's around a connection to God, Goddess, all that is. Maybe it is you're just having a really tough time keeping the faith. And the answer for you is to go into the day-to-day routine, go into the mundane, Aquarius. Maybe stop trying so hard to have a relationship with spirit and just let spirit be in the moment of every breath. This could also be an issue around teaching and learning. So maybe you are having, you're struggling to get your point across. You're struggling to explain the enormity of something, the gravity of a situation, and you feel like you can't, you're not being heard, you're not being seen, or you're not getting the point across with the sense of urgency that it needs. Again, go into the 6th house, go into that area of day-to-day routines, go into the meditative breath, the place of every moment being sacred. This could also be about spending too much of your energy capital on, gosh, 12th house is about squirreling yourself away and kind of being that monk on the mountain instead of being in the moment, being in the day-to-day routines. Again, finding the divine in the routines. That is where you're going to find what you need in this week. Okay, I'm 5 seconds. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great week. Mwah. Okay, start again. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to do, I think I did Aquarius so far, but let me see if there's anything else to say about Aquarius. So Mars in that 3rd house just slows you down. I'm going to just give a little bit more for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. Thank you all for joining me again. Mars is retrograde in that 3rd house. Mercury is slowing way down in that 9th house. And that could be that your processes, your ability to think through problems is starting to slow down as well. And it's creating a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of a feeling like you can't quite solve the problem that you know is there, but you can't get your arms around the problem. As hard as you try, you can't seem to solve it. Again, you want to go into this place of surrender and a place that you are able to sort of give the problem up to God, Goddess, all that is, some higher power, something bigger than you. Allow that problem to work itself out for a minute. Sometimes we spend so much time, and Aquarius is really good at overanalyzing a situation that really is more of a gut level or a heart center or an emotional thing. Aquarius likes to over intellectualize things. And this is a situation this week where your intellect is really not what is going to get you there. It's really more about grace. It's really more about nurturing the self and nurturing the body and nurturing the things that just keep us grounded and calm. So it's really like going back to the routine, going back to that sense of what do I need in this moment? Not futurizing, not catastrophizing over what must be in the future, maybe, what ifs, all that, but just going back to what is grounded and center for me right now. Okay, I'm going to do Pisces and then I'm going to finish up here. And thank you all for hopping over on this next live. I'm not really sure what happened there. I don't even know if that recorded on live. So if you didn't see your sign or if you missed your sign, you want to listen to this again, I am going to post it on YouTube. That is working here. So that's good. All right. So Pisces rising. This is a values and shared resources, earned income versus what do I have in my partnership? What sort of loans or money that I haven't earned, inheritances, tax returns, refunds. How is that going to help sustain my goals? You know, do I have the finances to manage this lofty, meaningful, important goal I have set? Am I going to be able to do it? And, you know, a lot of this is going to have to do with believing in yourself and getting really creative. So this points to the 5th house, and it says you can actually think your way through this one. Now, Aquarius, different advice. Pisces, however, you have Uranus in the 3rd house for a good long while. And that is a really amazing, creative breakthrough waiting to happen at every moment. So if you really believe that you have the bandwidth to work through this difficult puzzle, it's a financial puzzle, it's a financial problem. And it could be that you need money that you're not getting from someone else. Maybe you are owed some money. Maybe you have gotten into some kind of legal jam. But this is something that your creative juices have the capacity to resolve for you. What do I want to say about that? You know what, Pisces, I think part of this, you're someone who probably knows how to be quite still and in the moment. This is maybe using your routines, creating some sort of routine that gives you more clarity. I'm seeing you actually making lists, sitting down, putting pen to paper and just see what comes. So almost an automatic writing kind of exercise where you say, I have this problem and what would solve it, and just put your pencil down and see what comes. Pisces, you're very intuitive. You're very in touch with that sort of spiritual God, goddess energy. I wonder if you use that connection, if you use that creative connection, that something inspiring will come, you know, something that is an idea that is already floating in the consciousness will come in. What else do I want to say about that? I mean, it's tough for Pisces now because of Neptune in that 1st house for a long time. And I mean, years. Your sense of self and what you're capable of, Pisces, is going to be a little unclear for you on the average. You have Uranus that you want to really tap into for that clarity. Uranus is like a bracing splash of water in the face. And if you can access that through some sort of meditative practice, I almost think if you go into meditation and come out of it and then try the automatic writing, that might give you some solution to your problem. Okay, that's it. I'm starting to lose my voice now. I've gone way over. Thank you guys for joining me. I will post this on YouTube with clickable timestamps. If you are interested in my Align and Thrive program, I think I have one more spot available in my October cohort, but I will be doing it in November as well. If you're curious about what it is, just reach out and DM me. If you'd like to be on my mailing list and you are not, just send me an email, or I'm sorry, send me your DM with an email and I will put you on that list. And have a great week. We're going to get through this one moment at a time. Mwah. I'll see you next week.